everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We have an XRP/CBDC video here for you guys today. Few developments over the last couple of weeks, and I really wanted to sort of touch in on some interesting developments of CBDCs in general, of course what's going on around the world, doing a bit of dot connecting here guys, because it's really important to understand some of the mechanisms that are coming, CBDCs in general. It's a topic that has been rising and rising over the last few years. I'm still adamant that the next big bull cycle will be around this topic, along with, of course, AI and other integrations is the whole point of the conversation. But let's go straight into this, guys. Before we do so, don't forget to obviously check out the other videos on the channel, loads of different topics, discussions. If there's a token that you want us to cover, let us know in the comments below. I'm doing a bit of a catch-up, holiday last week, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. Let's go into it. Now, first point, guys, really quickly, is this problem, reaction, solution. Now, some are fans, some are not. I've been following David for a long time, and it's always funny because a lot of the stuff does come into fruition. But one of the things that always stood out to me was this problem, reaction, solution mentality. Okay, so the actual way round of this is that you could add a solution to the beginning as well. The solutions are always there. And that's kind of a natural thing to say. We just maybe haven't found them at the instances of whatever the topic might be. But what my point being about this is that there's a catalyst of events always throughout history in humanity. I've read a lot of books over, not millennia because I haven't been that old, but I mean books from different topics across the millennia. Particularly very interested. I have a degree in Egyptology. I've got degrees in loads of other different areas, or diplomas at least, about survival of humanity, the repetition of how societies build themselves to actually fail on purpose, and who gets the reward out of that, who gets the benefit of all these kind of things. And there's a multitude of things that probably happened, at least even in the last 22 years. I'm not going to name them in case they're channel off the channel, whatever, but they're pretty conclusive. You could probably guess what most of them are. More recently, there was one a few years ago where we have a solution, but we want to create the problem and a reaction and then a solution to that, so they look like the heroes. Okay, so all these things going on, I want this to be emphasized in our minds as we go through this topic. Now, there's a lot of things going on at the moment with the economy and everything going on around the world in terms of interest rates, in terms of house market issues, car market issues, you name it. It's thrown at us left, right and centre. Now, I do a lot of lecturing at universities on top of all the other things that I do. And it's really interesting because I went to one of the most recent ones that I did where I was talking about progression in careers and CVs and stuff like that. And the topic came up about the economy, and is it scary for graduates coming into the world where we are facing almost an unknown, really, the last one being around that 2008 mark, and filtered out over the few years after that. There's many other examples, 82, 87, etc. But what's really interesting is from my perspective, I never fully understood the last big one. I was finishing university. I saw things based on the fact in my working environment at the time that prices were changing, VAT was changing here. We went from 17.5% to 20. People forget that. It was supposed to be a temporary solution. It's now permanent. No doubt they'll do it again. But the point being is that we're now in a conclusive period of time in history, and both the present factor of a real significant change in the financial industry collectively around the world. This is a global project. Now, before I go into the point about CBDCs, I just want to reiterate this point that yes, economy is built on elasticity of supply, demand, and many other mechanisms. There are reasons behind inflation. There are reasons behind the interest rates and combating each other, etc. I'm not a giant financial advisor or an expert or anything like that. I do know what's going on to the extent as well. I do have massive beliefs in the reasonings behind a lot of these things. Very timely, by the way, into the relation of integration of new systems, new financial systems that affect the wholesale institutional level, as well as us, the retail users as well too. And why would they bring CBDCs out? Now, in the various Digital Pound Foundation events I've been, at the government level events that I've been over the last few months, there's never really a categorical answer to the general public's questioning of why do we need this? What is it for? There's questions around programmability of it, and people saying, no, it's not going to be programmable, but then you read on BIS and other organisation sites the abilities that it could have with programmability, and how far does that go? How far does our privacy, our data go, and our usage? Or are we even going into a situation where we may be forced to do or not do things and be punished, not punished, via our financial levels within CBDCs and our digital wallets moving forward? These are all the big weird questions, right? But what is for sure, guys, if anyone in the world is saying that we are considering CBDCs, we're not sure whether we will or not yet or not, do not believe one thing about it. I can assure you from the events that I have been, we are very much, I would safely say, at least 70-80% of the way there already. We've already seen the last week, here in the UK particularly, Houses of Parliament approving, or certainly to the last very latter stages of the bill being transferred and becoming a legal aspect of bill and law, the usage of stable coins and cryptocurrencies, digital currencies in this instance, being able to be deemed as approved, but also deemed as something that they understand and acknowledge is something that's going to be a part of our lives moving forward. Hence the opening opportunity in the coming years for banks to hold and deposits of crypto, become their own exchanges, or have us the ability to save our things within banking, have staking, etc., like we've seen with CEXs, DEXs over many years now. So this coordination is very apparent in my mind. When I first read the documentations of Agenda 21, when I've read the Agenda 2030 programs as well, all devised by the UN, aka the World Economic Forum, about sustainability, diversification, socialism, everything, a big factor of this is the financial industry. And it's fine to talk about enhancing and advancing a system like this, but what does it mean for us as people? And lo and behold, all I'm seeing now, article after article, of all these projects that we hold as an investment, and looping this back round to Ripple as this particular topic, Ripple partners with Colombia's central bank to explore blockchain technology. Now, Ripple is all across the world with a multitude of different countries, different platforms, systems, infrastructures, doing its thing. The SEC movement, I've always said this long, I believe it's fully theatre, I believe it's a circus, I believe they're very much trying to demonstrate the power, or whatever's left of it in the US, to try and coordinate a system where they can continue the dollar as a reserve currency, because as we know, it is diminishing by the day. Even more recently, China doing trade agreements with the likes of the Arab Emirates regions and a multitude of others as well, and this will continue. That's not to say China will be the full reserve currency moving forward with the yuan, of course, which has been in development for a long time. It's even been used over the last few years as a trial period. It's a trial mechanism, guys, for the rest of the world. Don't be fooled by the media outlets of this crazy barriers or battles between countries. It's a load of nonsense and theatre for us. That's why I don't watch the news, because when you go to these events, you realise that actually they're all pals, and actually they all work under the World Economic Forum, and they all attend these kind of events. They all work together. It's just that each country does its own trial system. Some people don't even know that in Africa a few years ago they were trialling the 4-day week. There was a trial via the WF, of which was successful and is now running across the world as trials as well. Here in the UK, I can't remember the amount of people that are being trialled. It's been going on in Wales, it's been going on in Canada. If you don't believe me, go check it out. You might even know someone that's going through it already or being asked to be part of the programme. It's all part of the plan, guys. So as I said, when they say we're thinking about it, we're considering it, that is a load of absolute tosh. Absolute tosh that is keeping some of the institutions or certain people around the world quiet about it, or not worrying too much about it. It's coming. We are running out of time if we want to battle it, that is. November 2025, we obviously know the RTGS system kicks in. This is a big, massive aspect of us switching the SWIFT, the BACS, etc. into this new formality, utilising the standardizations like ISO 222, which by the way has been around for a long time. I think we did a video on this, maybe even like 15 odd years it was in development, and it's only just coming to fruition because we are where we are with blockchain advancements and the technology within cryptocurrencies. But as we look across the world right now, We know Sunak, one of the graduates of the leadership program of the World Economic Forum. There is a video, can't remember where it is, but I did one about 2 years ago and I said Sunak will be our definitive Prime Minister next because he is pro-crypto, because he is building the innovation hub here in the UK, and he's part of the WF program. And this is what's happened around the whole entire world, guys. Every president, prime minister around the world right now, part of that graduate program, but more importantly, they all have the philosophy around crypto. That's why they're here. The chess pieces are in place, guys, to bring this all together. And lo and behold, the convenience of creating problems, creating the solutions, because if we really need something really badly, or we get given a solution that will fix something, like, for example, which I'm sure will be a narrative in the coming years, i.e., we will never have interest hikes ever again. We will never have crashes, market crashes, this and the other, because we've now got AI, because we've now got the ability of CBDCs that can literally do everything on algorithms. So we will never be in a position ever again to go, we've got too much supply, we've got too much demand, we've got GDP, we've got too many people, not enough people, this, that and the other. It will all be done simultaneously, automatically, guys. So we mentioned back here this article here from December 22, on the 5th of December, sorry. This is where it comes in to fruition here, certainly in the UK, where we will be pushing ourselves significantly. We know about the MiCA, markets and crypto assets, being a phenomenal aspiration of a lot of projects and technologies within the blockchain sphere. This is very important. The issue, a collection of non-fungible tokens. This is also physical NFTs, guys. It's going to all be concluded. And even here, having inherited an economy shaken down by COVID-19 pandemic, or war, the rapid unraveling of his predecessor, Liz Truss, this was all a load of nonsense anyway, and all of this other stuff going on. It's all part of the plan. The same's going on in the US now, guys. It's going around the world. But we know for sure XRP is going to be a massive part of this because they have the gigantic CBDC platform that they built, utilizing their system, their ledger system. And when we have this conversation around the ability of cross-border payments, frictionless payments, low cost, great sustainability in terms of its green economic power, of sustainability, all of these aspirations that we talk about. We talk about ESGs being a massive part of the future of business. When we talk about it's the environment, social aspect of it, it's all part of it. It's all part of the program that's been pushed down and pushed down. And as we looked closer, I thought this article was absolutely brilliant. It's literally from a couple of days ago. IMF quietly recognised XRP for cross-border payments in 2018. This is not a new conversation, guys. CBDCs have arguably had a conversation around since the 80s. I know some very, very clever people, big top CEOs and founders in some London corporations who are very nice to meet them again at the recent Digital Pound Foundation events, where they talked about this exclusively, that the technology was there was no use for it yet, but we're coming now to this point where it is, and this is where it gets interesting for us as investors, because for me personally, I have no interest in the terrible rubbish coins or meme coins or anything like this. Some of them, cool, you can make money off them, whatever. I'm really more interested in what the actual proper utility tokens and companies are out there, but more importantly in the financial industry, the financial sector. Hence why I'm very interested in the likes of Ripple, Stellar, Quant, Algorand, name a few. XDC's Infin, for example, with R3. On that note, R3 at this moment in time have got 3 significant job roles going on with CBDC systems. Why on earth would you hire a load of people at head of products, head of digital this, digital that, if you think CBDCs aren't coming? Of course they're coming. They're on our doorstep, guys. In fact, in here, this is the most interesting part. R3 are trying to conduct their own actual digital currency. Now, whether this is the framework or the system for it, or indeed a token itself, because here they're looking to launch their own private digital currencies. That's talking to people like commercial banks and corporations who want to create their own currencies, their own systems. Isn't it getting really interesting, guys? And we of course know, especially XDCs, Infin, we know XRPs, Ripple, or Ripple in general, are heavily related to Corda, as are Quant. It's all interlaced, guys. It's all interlaced, and it's coming faster than we think. This was one of the last articles, literally from a couple of days ago as well. Central banks propose CBDC stablecoin standards with Amazon grab running trials. This is all about the integration of existing, Web 2 systems, Web 3 systems, joining together and making it more fruitious for people in general, like you and I, to be able to utilize this new monetary system in the capabilities of everything that we do in our daily lives. And this will advance, I've already said this many, many times, the incorporation of AI, drones, harvesting, seeding, deliveries, everything, supply chain, logistics, you name it, will all be integrated within CBDCs and this digital blockchain framework. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. And I'll remind everyone, one of the last passing comments here, time is also running out, particularly here in the UK. You might have your own one in your own country. 30th of June is the deadline of this consultation paper for people, the general public, to be able to voice their concerns and their opinions about CBDCs. No one really knows about this. It's not advertised anywhere. You won't see adverts on it or anything, bus stops, and you name it. You'll just see loads of Netflix and all the other normal distractions. So when they come in about 6 months, 12 months time and they tell everyone definitively that everything's going forwards, and people go, what the hell's a CBDC? What's digital currency, this and the other? They go, oh, I didn't want this. And I go, well, we gave you the opportunity to talk about it. That's how it works. Exactly the same thing happened with the agricultural bill. And as we go further into development, if there is programmability about CBDCs, do probably expect things like climate controlling through CBDCs, the ability to pay for things or not be able to pay for things if you're out of your jurisdiction, or perhaps even if you haven't eaten the right things this week. Who knows how far it will go, guys. For sure, it's very interesting to see these continuous developments. And as I said, there's a massive opportunity in this moment in time for us to really start understanding this. And I'm not saying that CBDCs are definitively going to be programmable or anything like this. The fact of the matter is we need to educate ourselves. We need to pass the word around that this is on the table. Because I can guarantee 90% wouldn't have a clue what a CBDC is. Most don't even know what cryptocurrencies are still yet. But when they do find out and the abilities of it, I guarantee as well that they'll probably be questioning it significantly and their future. I'm just going to mention a few seconds worth of this video recently, today, from the BIS media briefing. And he talks very briefly about the CBDC system. So I'm just going to pass it over and let's have a quick.
We propose a new type of financial market infrastructure, a so-called unified ledger, which would combine tokenized forms of central bank digital currency, or CBDC, with tokenized bank deposits, and various forms of tokenized assets, which could be securities or even real assets, such as real estate or commodities. Now, the key is to have central bank money residing in the same venue as the other tokenized claims. Central bank money is the trusted settlement medium that can knit together all elements of the monetary and financial system. Now, it's worth emphasizing that the potential for such a system is not limited to incremental gains in speed and efficiency on what we do currently, but instead to open up a whole new set of economic arrangements that are currently not taking place, or taking place at great cost through added layers of bespoke intermediaries. Now, to a large extent, the full potential will only be clear with time, just as the smartphone apps that have made inroads into people's daily lives have defied the expectations of the early platform developers. So let me stop here.
I'm just going to leave that there, guys, because it's that point about the unified ledger systems. As I just mentioned, with the aspirations of things like R3 Corda, we've seen obviously as well with Ripple's intentions to create their own CBDC platforms. This is great to see these individual technologies, these individual projects. But again, one of the key things that was always mentioned over the many years was a unified government, which could arguably be the WEF, and a unified currency, a global currency, one that defines anything and everything. And under that, you would have the layers of each individual's currencies, CBDC structures of each country. This is a really interesting time, guys. It's something I've been thinking about for the last 10 or so years. It's something that I get inquisitive about every time I hear something about CBDCs or information about it. And I go onto various different YouTube channels for research, websites, etc. The more information I gather, the better. And I implore everyone to do the same. make your own conclusions about it, but just be aware this is coming, and time is indeed running out for us to make decisions, to understand it more before it even launches. So I just wanted to wrap up those quick points there, guys. Let's jump straight into the chart of XRP before we wrap this video up, because we have seen some really interesting moves over the last few weeks. So we can see that the last couple of weeks have been relatively sideways moving for XRP. It's certainly something that's been a good traction point for me personally to accumulate around this 50 cent mark. I've always still got my eye on that 42 cent area as well, and some lower spectrums too, because you never know, these very quick reactions in these winter markets can really subsidize themselves in a very short period of time in both directions. And I think what's really important to make a point about always with any of the charts is the historic information of any of the assets, irrespective of how strong they are or how long we've held them for, how long they've been around for. We always have to look conclusively at some of the old previous data points as well. So where I just drew that circle in around the 42, you'll see there's a lot of, I wouldn't call it volatility, but there's certainly a lot of traction around these areas, even back to 2019 here, back in that 2020, 2021 period, and the drop downs that we saw in August 2021 as well. And since that kind of marker up to September to December 2021, we've had that downward trend. You can start to see it very slowly trying to edge its way up. But again, being in a winter market, you can't define this as a bull cycle or anything like that just yet at all, because we need to see real proper, new higher lows, etc., etc. So for me right now, I'm trying to identify really good price points of XRP. Yes, of course, I got some back down here at the 30 odd cent mark, which was brilliant to see those numbers or those positions again. When I first got into XRP properly was around that sort of similar mark actually. And even of course, when we had that big drop in 2020, to grab XRP at 12 cents is almost laughable when we look back at it now. Not to say that it couldn't come back to those areas, but you can see when you look at the zoomed out chart that yes, we had this big gap of an intensified bull cycle, but if you were to follow a trend line in the good time frames that we've seen over this last 3 or 4 years, it kind of identifies that itself that actually we're in probably the positions where we should be. And there's probably a hell of a lot more holders, especially on the institutional level of XRP than there were a few years ago, understandably, because that's an organic situation anyway. But more importantly, that not too many people will want to be sacrificing the XRP at these current prices or anywhere lower. They'll just keep accumulating, in my opinion, because I think there's a great massive future for XRP, depending on, of course, a multitude of other variables. But certainly, as I said, I think the SEC stuff is a theatre production. I'm more interested in what they're actually doing outside of that. As you can see, the SEC is a big distraction, but then we've got articles and things saying they're doing CBDC platforms for this country, for this country, for this country. Are you telling me that the US is going to miss out on that opportunity for a full interlaced world? That is why I still think it's massively heavily related to the dollar and trying to protect it and utilize potentially the Ripple system to confirm that superiority again, potentially for the next 100 years at least. So that's where we are with it. We can see on the longer term and the macro level of fib retracement charts here that we're very much trying to push the barrier of this 49.50 cent mark. We've had a couple of occasions in the last couple of months where it has done so successfully, but not for very long, which brings me back to my point that it is a winter market, all these other crazy things going on around the world. It's pretty understandable why this isn't going crazy until we get to those big bull cycle markers, of course, and we go into a more productive, positive mindset, both in confidence as investors, but also confidence in markets and as a project itself too. So very much matching around this area, which is why I've still got these buy orders in at these lower regions, because I don't think, in my opinion, there's enough data points here to suggest that we can definitively confirm 50 cents as a support line. We have not had enough point touches here on those kind of like lower 30 cent marks up to 40 cent marks. Again, not saying they would definitively come down to even these low areas, but I always love a DCA opportunity, but I would also always be looking at manual positions where I see good confident structure, i.e. this rough estimated area that we are currently at. It's roughly backed up on the RSIs that we see in the bottom left here. For me right now, I was just waiting around for a couple of days to see what happens. Certainly a few days back, I did take advantage of it, certainly about around here, because the RSIs came to around that 45 mark on the 14. Slightly too high, not too bad, but still a bit too high on the 14 day for me, and 52 is still slightly high on the 28 day as well. So there's a bit of movement to come in my opinion, but you see here on the right hand side the performance indicators are doing really well. Not many assets can boast green on all these elements, but it shows you the confidence and the strength of people's mentality towards XRP, whether you're a maxi, whether you're someone that's massively infused by it, or you just are quiet about it. The fact of the matter is there are a lot of holders, there's a lot of volume every day, and this is not going anywhere. This is going to be utilized significantly over the next few years, and certainly from 2025 onwards. That's what I'm waiting for. People can talk about $100, $500, $1,000, whatever it might be. The fact of the matter is that the price point that is currently, I feel like it's a steal. Even if it was 12 cents, 50 cents, even $1, I'd be laughing by the time in 5, 10 years time, 15 years, 20 years time, assuming they still allow us to hold it and accumulate it, of course, because who knows what's around the corner, right? With all this stuff going on. So that's my thoughts and opinions about XRP. That's what I'm kind of doing in terms of the market opportunities that I see in front of me. I'm not an advisor, obviously. Do your own research, all that malarkey. But the point being is that things are happening, guys. XRP Ripple is going to be one of the big forefronted projects. It already is. It already will continue to do so. And as I said, this is a great accumulation opportunity, both now and in the future, to really, really get involved in something so early on. Even though it's been around for a long time, it's still early on in the whole entire process of everything. Once it kicks in, guys, CBDCs and everything, can you imagine the mass adoption, the mass awareness of everything that's going on? And what will they look at? They will look at all the financial related projects, like the ones I mentioned earlier, and the one we're looking at right now. Let us know in the comments below what you've been doing with XRP over the last few months, over the last few years. Are you accumulating like I am and just waiting for those drops in the ocean as well? Are you a day trader? I'm very interested to know how you're performing over these last couple of weeks with these nice moves that we've seen in both an upward and a downward movement. But other than that, guys, hopefully this has been relatively informative. It's got people's minds thinking a bit more as well about the whole entire spectrum of this conversation. But we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next update video for Ripple XRP. Take care. Bye-bye.